get to start this one,
Right.
so woohoo.
Oh, I get to start it?
Yeah, because I get to talk.
All right. It's been a week. I've forgotten what I need to do already.
It happens.
It happens. It happens to me a lot. Hello and welcome to Building a U-Shaped Business with Georgie and Patty.
I'm Georgie.
And I'm Patty. And hello and welcome. And super excited about today's topic. Georgie and I have been chatting about this. About a lot of the things that make Georgie she learned from her dad, so today she's going to share some of those lessons that she's learned from him, specifically around building a community, creating relationships, and leaving a legacy, and all of those things, truly making a difference in the impact on the world is what a lot of the people in our circle, our clients in particular, are wanting to do. So I'm excited to hear what Georgie has to say, and I will let you just take her away.
Okay, let me share my screen. Dun, dun, dun. Can you see that? Can you see that?
I can see it.
All right. I liked your new. Oh, hey. I thought this said something else as well, but hey, it looks like maybe I deleted that.
Oh, and there was transitions before, so like magic.
There probably is.
There you go.
Look at that. Okay.
Just to remind us to tell people what we do and what this is about.
Oh, this is what we do. Yes, our show is live every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and we will help you build a successful business based on your purpose, your values, and your personality. I really loved the slide when I saw it this morning, so yay for transitions. Welcome to live internet shows. But today I'm going to be talking about building a community, making an impact, and leaving a legacy. And as Patty mentioned, these are all lessons that I learned from my dad, which I lost last week. And I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I realized when, looking back at his life and some of the tributes and things that were coming in, I was like, oh man, it's so clear where I get so much of, who I am and what I stand for from. And even when I think about the legacy piece, I'm not even sure my dad really knew what he was leaving until after, and now that he's gone. But it's really been amazing seeing that impact come through. So this is my dad. And so the things I'm going to be sharing that you might want to know about today is that he actually built an online community of over 85,000 people before social media. So before Facebook, before Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, all of that, he built it with actually just from basically a simple chat room. And the people in this group were from all over the world. Like pretty much any country you can think of, there was somebody in there. All races, all nationalities, all religions, everywhere. It was really quite amazing. And because of that, or one of those reasons, I think because of who he was able to leave a legacy that our family is actually able to see now. So I'm going to share some of the ways that I believe he did that. I was pretty involved with that online community building thing. So I had pretty much a front row seat to how this thing occurred. So here we go. So first I'll leave you with a quote, or start with the quote of the day. And the greatest compliment that was ever paid me was when someone asked me what I thought and attended to my answer, by David Thoreau. And this was very much something that my dad did. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, the thing I'm going to miss the most is he would pop in or he'd be on the call and he'd be like, hey, George, got a minute? Let me know what you think about something. And he wasn't asking just for the sake of asking so that I could agree with him, but he actually wanted to know what I thought. And he did this to many people. And then for me, I was like, he would be the person that I would call when I had a great idea or something that I wanted to run by. Hey, let me know what you think about this. Because I knew he would listen. he would hear me, and I would get really honest thoughts and feedback that would usually lead to different ideas, different perceptions, those kinds of things. So I think when we can come from that place of actually asking people what they think and really listening to the answer, it's a really good place to start when you're wanting to build your community and relationships with other people. So his online community started just like that. Hey, George, do you got a minute? I want to know what you think about something. I'm thinking about starting this online thing with, because he'd been in little chat groups. My dad was a preacher, so he was in a lot of different Bible study kind of chat groups and things like that, where they would discuss scriptures and their opinions and their thoughts and all that stuff around that. So he's like, I'm thinking of doing a chat room around helping people live a good life. How can I help people create a life that they want, be good people, and just, be good humans in the world while creating something that they really want? Of course, I'm like, that's a great idea. How are we going to do that? And he's like, well, I've been in this little chat room. I'm going to start this little chat room, which he started, and it was called Good Life Now. And he just sort of put it out there. But it started as one idea with him not really knowing how he was going to do it, what it was going to be, or anything like that, how it was going to grow. But he was pretty clear about what he wanted it to be. So when we're looking at building a community, I think these are the steps that kind of made him successful in building this global community that he created. Was a really simple, articulated kind of vision. He knew what it was for. Everyone in this group had to care about other people. They had want to kind of improve their own life, because if they did that, it would have an effect on everybody else. So he kind of started there. It wasn't perfect, but he knew what he believed, and he knew how to convey that to people. And he was open to hearing what other people might think too, but that was kind of the central part of it. And you have to care. You have to care about whatever it is that you want to build. This, vision or mission, it has to be really, really important to you, because if it's not, you are not going to do what it takes to make something like this grow. You're not going to be motivated to show up when it gets hard and when you don't want to. So you really have to care about it. And you have to care about people. If you don't really care about people, I would advise not building a community. It's probably not going to go so well. So if you really have to care about the people that you are bringing together. And my dad really, really cared about people. One thing he always said was, a stranger is just a friend he hadn't met yet. And trust me, anytime I would go anywhere with my dad, it would always take twice as long as we thought it would take, because he would find people to talk to. Like, that's just the way he was. And consistency. Whenever you're looking to build, I think whether it's an offline or an online community, you have to have consistency with being in your group, every single day. Especially if you want to build something that's really, really big, it requires consistency, especially in the beginning when you're doing most of the uphill work. And then he was able to find people who believed in his vision, and he was able to create a team. There actually ended up being a team of 5 of them who all came together, not because of money, but because that they all cared about this dream, about seeing how they could impact the world through building this online community and helping people create the lives that they want. How could they help other people who were feeling challenged and struggling, and then so that they could take that and help people in their community. And him plus these other 4 people, they were people, again, from all over the world, not people he actually knew, but people he met through other online communities and things like that. One thing it's going to take you if you want to do this is a lot of time and a lot of energy. My dad was literally online probably from after he would wake up in the morning and have breakfast, and he would be at his computer pretty much until he went to bed in the beginning. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. But my dad loved interacting with people. He loved the variety of people that showed up. So from an outsider's point of view, it would be like, oh my God, Lloyd, what are you doing? But he actually really enjoyed it. For him, it was that space of time just flew by. And he was doing the thing that he loved to do the best, which was talking to people, having conversations with people, having these interesting discussions with different points of view, learning about people. And I think when it becomes sort of your passion, you do put in that time and energy. And I'm not saying for everyone that you've got to spend, 20 hours a day at your computer. I don't actually think that's incredibly healthy. There needs to be some balance, but it's probably going to take more time and energy than you think. And I think often in the world that we live in now, where we're kind of fed these things about hacks and shortcuts and 4-hour work weeks and things like that, if you want to build something that large, you're not doing it in 4 hours a week, especially in the beginning. Now it could take longer, for sure, no problem. But it is going to take some time and energy, which I think is why it needs to be something that you care about. The mission behind it has to be something you're passionate about, because then you'll step up and you'll do it, because you'll want to, you'll like it. It's like that pull for you. And I think that's what it was like for my dad. My dad was very much pulled and called to do this. It was something he couldn't not do. And then when, of course, Facebook and that came along, it just made it easier for him. And then with the impact, so how are we going to make an impact within this kind of community that we've built online? With my dad, his whole thing was really about including everybody. So for him, he didn't label people. He really just saw people as people. He didn't show up with already sort of a preconceived opinion or a preconceived thought about what someone could do or how much they could help or anything like that. He really showed up as just blank slate, almost like we've talked about before, where, it's like, ooh, like this magical being in front of me. Let me go in and discover who they really are. So you have to be really open-minded. When we go in too close-minded, it's hard to build this kind of a community, because people want to feel, like they're heard, like they're understood. To be able to do that, we have to be open-minded. You have to allow space for these opinions and thoughts and beliefs. Not to the point, because I know some people say, well, what if people are like evil? No, you don't have to keep those in your community. However, I think when we're building diverse communities, we all come with, different backgrounds, different conditioning, different thoughts, different opinions, different beliefs. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything, but I think when we can have a space where people can feel comfortable and safe sharing what's on their mind, it's going to help you grow your community and create a community that's a little more, they feel like they belong. My dad he brought together people who, if you looked at it on paper, you wouldn't think they should all be in the same room together. That's for sure. Like so many diverse, like religions and ethnic backgrounds. And it was really quite amazing. But I think that's because there was that space put in there. And there was basically the agreement that everybody would be respectful. They would respectfully agree and they would respectfully disagree. Everyone was entitled to their own opinion, but there was very much a high degree of respect, which I think comes, we talk about this a lot too, when we're sure about what our values are and we find people that are kind of in alignment with those core values, it's easier to kind of find this level of respect. And it's one of the things I saw so much in the people that were leaving comments after my dad had passed, was that I often didn't agree with Lloyd, but he never made me feel wrong. We always had the space for open conversations. And I think that's probably one of the biggest gifts he brought to this community, was that he was able to truly hear someone, truly let them have their opinion. And even if he didn't agree, he didn't try to convince them otherwise, but they could have this kind of open conversation. So I think that's a really special place when we can do that. Because that does lead to these more collaborative discussions. It wasn't like, when I think of community, I do think it's a place where everybody can be seen and heard, and it's not so much of this kind of I'm going to teach you and tell you kind of thing. At least in the kind of community that my dad had built, it was very, very much collaborative and open. And there was no ego. He dropped the ego at the door, and he was able to find in his teammates also people that were able to do that. And obviously not all the time. He certainly wasn't perfect, and he certainly wasn't a saint by any means. But I think just with his practice of doing that, he was really able to show up without that ego, without this being, even his community. It was always very much about collaboration and inclusion and being willing to listen. And then the other piece is, and this is where it's so funny when I think about this, because I'm constantly talking about, just be a human, just be a good human. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this was bred into me at some point or something. I don't know, but it's when you show up to just be kind. I think if you forget everything else, really show up just as being a good human. And sometimes we forget what that looks like. And first of all is to just be really kind and to be present. Because when we're really present with people, that's where people feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. We're not moving into forward thinking of what am I going to say next. We're not stuck in the past where I'm like, oh, I remember what that person said like yesterday and last week. It's just, I'm right here with you right now. And these aren't easy skills. I get it. Like it takes a bit of practice, but I think my dad was able to do that and then convey that through this medium of the internet and through a screen, because back then, there wasn't even video calls. It was literally just typing, like no faces, no nothing, just a keyboard and a screen. And it was to be able to be that present with that is kind of cool. And listening. I think anytime we're dealing with people, if we can really practice our listening skills, it's going to make a big difference. And I think all of these actually apply whether you want to build a community or any kind of business. If you can take these and apply them to your U-shaped business, you're going to be better off. You're going to, be able to build those relationships with people. And I firmly believe it's those relationships that help us build and grow our business, whether it's, people who are referring clients to it, whether it's our clients, whether it's our partners, people that just happen to hear us. When we take all of these kinds of things and put that into our business, it's only going to help you. So you don't have to want to grow this huge community of, hundreds of thousands of people. And I actually don't even think my dad set out to do that. It just kind of happened. He often said, he was like, yeah, that first 1,000 was kind of a slog. It was hard getting the first 1,000 in there, but once it hit 1,000, it kind of just took off, all on its own. And then the other thing is to treat people like they matter, because they do, and all of these things come from not because you want to gain something, but because it's actually who you are, because it's actually what you really care about, what your values are, because we can tell when someone's just doing something for the sake of doing something, and then when they're actually listening to us and they care about us because they actually care about us. And be in service to people. It makes you feel better, and people feel that. And I think that's what he was doing within his whole entire life. Actually, was really designed to be in service to people. And not to the, because I know I'll have the little, you can't be in service to everybody if you don't fill your own cup. Yes, fill your own cup, all of that kind of stuff. Do your self-care, take care of yourself, all really important things. And you can still really be in service to other people. How do you help other people get what they want, achieve their goals, live the life that they want, have their good life now kind of thing. It's really about being in service, because the side effect of that is that we feel good too. So with his legacy, which, like I say, was kind of an unexpected thing, there is now actually the Lloyd Lowe Bible Institute, which is in Yola, Nigeria. So his impact is not only here in North America, and he was from the States, but it's not only in North America, it's actually spread all the way over into Nigeria, where there's a little institute named after him, where they are actually training preachers there in the way that my dad saw the world. So my dad saw the world, as I mentioned in the beginning, where there's no labels, there's no judgment. People are people. We're all one. We're all here to help each other, to be in service to each other. So even though he was technically following religious, I guess, doctrine or ideology. He kind of had his own spin on it. Like he took that and it's like, this is just sort of a guideline, but he really saw things more from that perspective of just care about people. If you just care about people, everything else will fall into place, you know, and you don't have to know all the steps. People will help you if you care about people. You'll find what you're looking for. And so, like I say, now we have this, well, we don't, they do, he does, whatever you want. I'm not even sure what to call it, but this institute in Nigeria, that's named after my dad. And the fellow over there who runs this thing, he met him on the internet, of course, you know, through Facebook groups that he was involved in. And he impacted them so much that now his legacy is carrying on. And this was my dad's motto: love people, all people, no matter what. And that was his vision for, you know, the entire world. That's what's being taught at this Bible Institute. That's what so many of the comments that have come in is just like, we want to carry on Lloyd's work. We know what his vision is. This is what we're committed to doing. And I think really that's kind of what the legacy is all about. It's not so much about having a building named after you or having, you know, it's this teaching thing modeled after how he modeled things, but I think it's when we have a vision for how we would like to see the world, something that's so incredibly important to us, like something that this is really our purpose. I think when other people take that vision and they keep moving it forward even after we're gone, I think that's really the legacy. It's not so much that his name's attached to it, because, you know, a few generations, his name, he will be disappeared. I mean, unless you probably Google him on the internet or whatever, but the reality is no one will remember where that kind of vision came from. It will be lost, but the vision itself will continue going. And I really think that's the legacy. That's that legacy with no ego. That's the impact. That's the thing that really makes the difference. And I think that was really how my dad would sum all this up. It wasn't about him. It was about this message. It was about creating a kinder world. It was about helping people. It was about helping people create the life that they really, really wanted. Imagine where that came from. Interesting, isn't it? But I think that was his guiding piece. And that's literally how he built these communities. It's how he had the impact, was starting from that why and that vision, showing up every day and being guided by that, and allowing things to come in and allowing people to help him. So my permission slip for you today is that, should you want this, is that you have permission to make an impact and leave a legacy in the world in whatever way that you want to do that. And I don't think it has to be with hundreds and thousands of millions of people. I think we have the ability to do this actually every single day, one-on-one with people that we meet. We can do it just within our families. Like, I don't think it has to be on this big, huge, grand scale. And often people think, I think impact and legacy has to be big, and it doesn't. We can do this every day, really, and that's how it becomes a legacy. It's something that we do every single day. So that's my slides. I feel like I rushed through that like crazy, but hopefully you'll have questions or something. As I was going through this morning, I'm like, crazyville. But I think those are kind of the important messages that my dad would want to share. And I think those are probably the most important things that I have learned about him for sure. And even when I look at the, you know, small communities that I've built and how I show up every day, it's definitely from those lessons. It's from that faith that everything will work out. If I just show up as a human I'm kind of meant to be. I'm allowed to make mistakes and screw up. But as long as I'm kind of kind to people and treat people like they matter, it's probably going to be okay. So far, so good anyway. Here we are. I think I've got a pretty good partner in this too to help move things forward. So yeah. Any questions? I can answer any questions that come up. Like I say, it's a bit of a weird thing, for sure. So Yeah.
We have all kinds of comments. You want me to go through some of the comments here?
Yeah, go through them.
When you're answering the call of longing to build something of true significance, it takes all of your heart and soul, which is, I think that this is one of those kind of deep, profound insights.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is kind of what struck me too when you're talking about the amount of time and effort and care that goes into this. That it's based on purpose, and that there's this commitment and there's this drive to do it. That's it's all consuming in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And I think I think you hit nail on the head when you're talking about we are surrounded by so much advice for shortcuts and hacks and how to do this fast, and none of it amounts to shit. Like you can't do this in that way.
Exactly.
It's like if you're gonna do it, you're diving in. That's what it takes, and that's why it's so important to get super freaking clear on what it is that you want, what that longing is for you, and to be honest about it too. Which is
so true.
not necessarily easy thing to do.
No, it's definitely not an easy. And even when I look at my dad, I think it took him a while to kind of narrow it down to just that sort of simplified core message. Like when he was a bit younger and kind of first getting into, my dad has been preaching since he was like 13 years old. So just so you know, like that's literally been kind of his calling in life. However, when he was younger, he was much more righteous about it, let's just say. It took him a little while, I think, to get to that place to really see it for what it was, where really it was really about just being kind and loving people and being of service, as opposed to this ideology kind of thing. But definitely a commitment. And I think the other piece of it is how he lived his life. Like this mission was literally who he was. It's not like something he didn't go to work to build his community and talk to people online. It was his life. It's why it took us, twice as long to go to the grocery store or whatever, because this was his life, and no matter who he met, how do I make everyone that crosses my path, how do I make their life just a little bit better? How do I understand them? How do I learn about them? I got stories like everywhere.
He wasn't sitting down at the computer each day going, all right, so today I'm going to leave a legacy and make an impact, and I'm going to follow the 4-step formula.
No, not a chance. It was like, how are we doing today? Okay, let's go, yeah, really. And like I say, some of the best conversations, I think, were from people with absolutely opposite points of view. The people that was so different.
Oh, different but the same. I'm just making notes for your talking. This was one of the things I picked up from this that I think so many people overlook, and this applies to life, it applies to marketing, is that the commonality on values versus anything else. I think that that's what makes it possible for people with different thoughts and opinions and ideas to come together in a respectful way, is common values.
Totally. And how similar we all are, like really how similar us human beings are. And I think this is where we're kind of getting into a little bit of trouble in the world right now with social media, is that we're getting these, and I think Bob Berg talked about this too, kind of like these actual evil perspectives. And we're forgetting that we are all so incredibly similar, but we're trying to polarize thing, and it's not even just right and wrong, it's like literally good and evil and things like that. And we're paying so much attention to what's happening what the news is feeding us, or what's in our social media feeds, that we're losing sight of kind of that true humanity. And I can't remember who shared it, but it's a thing. And they were saying that, 90% of everything, like all people and everything, we're actually 90% the same. We only have about 10% differences, but it's that 10% that the media magnifies, that your social media feed is blowing up. It's really only a 10% difference. And that's what's really creating this divide that we're seeing in our world today. And I think before, like, and maybe I don't know that this would happen now, but with what he was creating online, like literally there was wars going on at that time between like the US and Iran and that kind of thing. And there would be Americans in there with Iranians in there, and people that are supposed to hate each other. But when you actually get people having conversations, it's not like that. But yet you've got, there's money involved in creating hate in the world, unfortunately. And I think the more we can actually remember that as human beings, we're actually more the same than we are different, no matter where we live in the world. It can really start to shift things, but we have to kind of take that responsibility that, the stuff that I'm being fed, there's some kind of gain for that. And is it really true? But if I can switch back into, am I being kind? Am I being caring? Am I being loving? It might shift a few things.
Make me think about Marshall Rosenberg, who wrote a book called Nonviolent Communication, where he talks about universal human needs and digging underneath the surface of what people are saying and recognizing that no matter how offensive or triggering what that statement is about, it's their best attempt to meet that universal human need that they're experiencing. It's like, and when I can remember to see it, I can see it underneath some of the heated arguments where you can just say, oh, they're trying to get that need met, and they're trying to get this other need met. And don't they realize that they both really want the same thing? They just have a very different idea of how to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is not, it's not always easy. And I think this is where we talk about, creating that space. Where's that space that I can just take a moment to breathe? And I was talking to Patty about this morning, actually, because right now, like my dad, he died just over a week ago. I am here with my mom to provide support for her because my sister can't be here. Grief is a bitch, let me tell you. And when you're trying to go through that, and sometimes the behavior on the outside is not so good, but it's being able to create that space and go, okay, my mom is really grieving right now. These things are coming because of that. And to be able to just to hold that, to allow the things to happen that need to happen. Is it easy? No, especially when I'm going through it myself. But I think being able to recognize that and just recognize the humanity in it all, it's the more we can do that, I think we'll see bigger shifts in the world. We'll see bigger shifts in our businesses. When if you take it to even our business level, when someone comes at you with some criticism or, I don't want to buy your service because of this or because of that, kind of taking that step back and, like you say, going, what need are they trying to meet right there? How do I see them as a human? Because then I just don't take things as personally, right? It's just like, okay, they're human. They're more like me than I probably want to admit right now, maybe. Damn it, as well. And we all have that inside of us. But yeah, we're just that recognition. I think my dad was really, really good at that, at recognizing that we're all the same. These labels that we put on us they're not really helping us all that much, but makes it easier. I was thinking about this too, like so people say, well, how do you pick up the phone? How do you talk to people? It's because I see people as people. I don't see that much of a separation or these labels that we tend to put on it. It's like, they're human. What's the worst they're going to do to me? Like, not answer, hang up? I don't know. They might yell at me, but if I can recognize that underneath that yelling, they don't even know me. There's just something else going on for them. So yeah, so many lessons. I'm sure there'll be more coming up over the next year. or more, but yeah, as time goes on, that's for sure. So I see the chat lighting up, but
Yeah, this
maybe,
we've got a challenging question for you in the Q&A if you want to take it on.
oh, sure.
Can you speak about faith that everything will work out, and how do you do that when things happen that don't make sense, like young people dying?
Totally. So this is a good one too, because I just had a young person die in my life not too long ago. And I think that there, life is going to happen. And that's just the way it is. And I think so if I go to the faith thing, so I'll go to how my dad saw things, right? So for him, he truly believed that in his religious beliefs, right, that he was just a body, that his soul was in this body, and that when he died, he was going to go into heaven to be with God. Like that was he fully 100% believed that. He would always say, I can't wait till the day that I die. I've been looking forward to that day my whole life, because that's what he believes. So if you believe in that way, then I think from your perspective of faith, even when a young person dies, there's that sense of, and I don't mean this in a, it might sound like it's cold, and I don't mean it in a cold way, but it's that sense of they have gone up, into heaven to be, their soul is free, they're still here, but their body isn't. Now, I think from a human perspective, our humanness here on earth, it hurts, and we are grieving, and we are sad. And I think that gives us an opportunity to embrace that challenge and that hurt. And sometimes it's the wake up call to, what am I going to do with my life? And I have a choice in that moment. I have a choice to either totally fall apart, or have a choice to, yes, grieve, yes, go through the pain, and look back and decide what I'm going to do with my life now. That some people will decide, I'm going to do things in memory of that person, or what would they kind of want things to be. So I think that comes into play. But for me, it's about, I think, you hear that thing about life happens outside your comfort zone, and we want to get outside our comfort zone. I don't think we have to try to get outside of our comfort zone. I think life is going to push us there eventually. I don't think you can sit in it too long. You're going to get pushed. And it gives us an opportunity to see how we're going to handle that. And sometimes it's hard. Like I've had those challenges come through where it's taken me probably a good year to see the lesson, or to see that everything was going to be okay, because I certainly didn't feel like it was going to be. I felt like I wasn't sure I could even make it another day, So I think it's a journey, and it's a process. But even when it was really, really hard, in the back of my mind, I really believe that everything's going to be okay. But it doesn't mean that I didn't have that one moment that's so clear in my mind where I'm like, this just hurts a lot, and I'm tired of the hurting, and I know I could end it right now. So it doesn't mean, because that's a reality, but there was enough space to then go, okay, everything is always okay. Has there ever been a time where it wasn't? Not yet. Doesn't mean it's easy. So I think we often see these sayings of, oh, just have faith, everything always works out. Do I believe that it does? Yes. Do I believe that it does instantly? No. And when people say that to me, I hate it, especially when I'm in the middle of it, because I don't think it's useful. I think it's just really irritating and annoying, because I think, there is a process. And I think especially when we lose someone so young, when we can see how much life is there, and how it's out of order to how life is supposed to be based on how we believe it to, it's really hard. And so I think it's accepting that hard, and then also coming to that place of death is a part of life, and we are never guaranteed when our moment is going to be there. And so how am I really living my life? am I telling the people that I love that I care about them? Am I showing up for them? Am I really doing the best that I can? Because I don't know when that moment is going to be, and taking the time that you need to work through the grief. But yeah, I think that answered. I'm not totally sure, but those are kind of all my thoughts on it, because I think they are, it's such a process, and it seems really unfair. Like say when we lose young people, and it sucks. That's the truth. And I do also, like say, I believe too that this is the vessel to kind of hold our consciousness, so that is still floating somewhere. But the form dies, and sometimes it dies before we think it should. So those are my thoughts. Just my thoughts and my opinions. And I might change my mind at some point, but that's kind of how it's been so far. So yeah.
All right. Throw another one at you.
Okay.
Do you think that the difference between coming to what we're wanting to do, whether it's coming from your mind or from your heart, can kind of change the quality of that, of the longing of what you want to do and how you live and manifest it?
Okay, say that one more time.
Do you think it's the difference between coming to it from our mind or from our heart that can change the quality of the longing and how you live and manifest it?
I do. I think if you're doing something only intellectually, like and I think this is kind of like when we're talking about, and not that I think it's not possible to, build a business or create something that you want that only comes just from your mind, because, and this is where we're talking about, am I doing something because like how the market wants it? So I'm providing something from that perspective, or from the inside out. I think both can work. However, I don't think there's as much fulfillment in things when it comes from just our mind. I think it's a little more challenging to get really motivated to do something when I'm doing it just because I've got the facts, I've got the data. Yeah, I can see how this will make some money. Let me just run the steps. I don't think that is as fulfilling. And having said that, I think you can also like manifest your purpose and the thing that calls your heart that might not necessarily have money attached to it. So you may, go to work or have a job or have a business that provides the means to pay your bills and take care of you, so that you can do this thing that is totally your soul and heart's calling. But I think the important thing is that you find that thing that calls you, that really fills your soul, that really is your reason for being here, and that you live and bring that to life. But that doesn't necessarily have to be your business. And I know that we hear that thing, if you do the thing you love, you'll never work a day in your life. True. And, I think there's also a lot of people who feel called to do things and it's not necessarily their job. So their income to support that probably can come from something else. And I think it's totally fine. But I do think it's important to listen to that thing that's calling you inside, and bring that to life in some way.
I think too, for U-shaped business owners, right, this is speaking from my experience, is you can have something that intellectually makes sense, but it isn't truly what you want to do. And you can judge what you truly want to do as maybe not being the smartest way to go about something. And it's kind of like, for me, as much as I could try to pursue, oh, this makes sense logically, I kept self-sabotaging myself because it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I think that there's a coming to terms with that that needs to happen for those of us who are that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm meant to do this. I need to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost just that surrendering, it's like, okay, let's go, because sometimes I think, our brains can get in the way of, what's supposed to be, and it has to be like this, and it just, the kind of the messages or whatever that we're getting don't make logical sense. But you just got to go with it. Like, I mean, that's what I do. So I think it just, it drives some people totally crazy, that do come from the more of a logical place, because it doesn't seem to make sense, but it's for lack of a better word, it feels right. And just see what comes and get the data and make adjustments and keep moving forward. But I think it's that space of being really, really clear about, who I am, what I want, what I stand for. And then everything else comes out of that.
So I think you might have an opinion on this. My dad had a lot of entrepreneurial dreams himself that he wasn't able to fulfill. And I always thought that maybe I could move at least one of them forward. I actually been thinking a lot lately about that as part of my own purpose in business. So it's not a question, but I'm wondering if you have a thought on that idea of carrying someone else's legacy forward, or fulfilling someone else's legacy in a way.
I think if it resonates with you, I think carrying on a legacy for the sake of carrying on a legacy, probably not as beneficial. But I think if you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, my dad always wanted, to do this kind of thing, as an entrepreneur, and you yourself resonate with being an entrepreneur, and that's something that might actually motivate you to move forward. Because often, as U-shaped business owners, it's sometimes more challenging to talk about the things that we do. We feel kind of icky and uncomfortable, and it's hard because it's our thing and we don't want to talk about ourselves. But sometimes if you can attach that to something else, like you're doing this for the sake of your dad to move on that family legacy, it might actually make it easier for you to pursue your own entrepreneurial dream, that because it's connected to that. But so I think, yeah, if it resonates with you, then I think great. And if it doesn't, I think also great. Like I look at my dad's message of loving people and treating people like they matter. That resonates with me. Are you ever, not likely anyway, going to see me, like honestly, preaching or teaching people at the Lloyd Lowe Bible Institute? I don't ever see that happening, because I have a different opinion or belief on that. And while that is very much a part of his legacy, that's not going to be one that I'm going to be involved in. But I am involved very much so in the caring about people and loving people, and that's okay. But if I were to make this flip into, that other part, it wouldn't work. Yeah. So I think if it's something that you resonate with, yes. And I think often, sometimes too, we feel like we should carry on certain things that people might have left for us. And maybe that comes out of some guilt and things that we might carry. So I think it's really important to look at that too, and be like, why is it that I really want to do this? Is this because it's something that is who I am, or is it coming from another place of regret and guilt? And it's not easy when it's, like I say, when it is, there's heavy grief going on. It can be challenging, because yeah, a lot of times I think that's where the, oh, I wish I'd done this, oh, I should have done that kind of thing comes in. And it's just important, I think, to not make decisions based on that, and be okay with it. So yeah. Any other good thoughts and questions?
We've got a got a comment. We got a comment that sounds like an advertisement, so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
What I love about your U-shaped business is helping me discover how to make my business right for me. You're helping me figure out how to make money and make my heart happy, instead of doing what all the big internet marketers say, that has to have me copy others and not be self-expression for me. and that this particular talk is about living your U-shaped life.
Yes. Yes. Because it's all connected. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, Patty and I both talk about this, right? It's like helping you create a business that supports the life that you really, really want. Like, how do we do that in a way that works for you with who you are? So I feel like I should be doing a disclaimer at the beginning of this one. These are my own thoughts and opinions. Please take them for what they are.
I think we could do that disclaimer at the beginning of every broadcast.
Yeah. It's probably true.
Some episodes a little more than others, but
Yeah.
as always, it's our ideas, thoughts, and opinions here. And there are many, 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 many ways to be successful in business and to be successful in life. And we share ours in case they resonate.
Exactly. So good. There's so many chat things. I can't read them all. I'm like, I'm trying.
Imagine having 85,000 people on this call.
Oh man. Well, one person at a time. Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing. I think who a person is, in other words, the way a person is being, is a legacy to those who are most important or most impactful on that person. Yeah. It's just, everything's just so combined, right? Like, I think especially with when we're building a U-shaped business, I think everything is really combined. How you show up every day, the business that you're building, the calling in your heart, it's all really, really intertwined. And I think honestly, that's what makes it so special and there isn't often, it's very blurred lines between business and life and how you do things, because it's who you are is so much a part of the business that you're building. These aren't corporations that we're building and those kinds of things. They really are almost just like I feel like our business is an extension of us. It's what we do.
It's you can't fully separate it when you're self-employed. Like, you really can't. It's like you are the business, you are the product, and you might not like that and you might not want that, but that's just part of the reality.
Yeah. Okay, you said the same thing. Yeah, the importance of the why, the purpose is so important to the U-shaped business. I totally agree. Because it's really it's an interesting thing.
Well, it turns running, starting, growing, running your own business into the world's most intense and challenging personal development course.
Totally.
That's part of the appeal for me. It's like my business forces me to do stuff that I could more easily avoid by taking a job.
Well, and I think when we really actually embrace who we are and we show up just as who we are, that's where some magic starts to happen. Because if I think of my dad, like, he didn't set out to build an 85,000 person community. It's not what his intention was at all. That was just a byproduct of him just showing up, doing his thing. And he was also very clear about who he was, what he stood for, and what his beliefs were. And he showed up with those every single time. Okay for people to have other opinions and beliefs, totally fine. And he was pretty sure about who he was and what he stood for. And he shared that, he expressed it. He wasn't afraid to do that. And I think because he fully showed up as who he was and allowed other people to show up as who they were, it created this global thing, and I think so often we are so busy looking for people to tell us how to show up, to tell us what's acceptable, when really, if we would just stop for a second, go inside and get really clear about who we are and what we believe and share those messages from a respectful place, we're going to attract the people who believe what we believe, create space to have these collaborative discussions, and the people that are totally like repelled by it are just not going to show up. But we're always searching for someone to tell us how to be us. And really, we already know that. So it's like we're pretty good on it if we'll just take the time and then I think own that. And I think that's kind of what makes our kind of group so special, is I think we're actually doing a decent job of creating that space for people to show up as who they are, you know, and helping them just express more of that, instead of trying to be like, oh, you know, you better tone that part down a little bit, or no, not that way, that's never going to sell. But hey, tell us who you are and what you want, and let's bring that light into the world, because there are people who want it and people that need it. And sometimes we just need a little, I think, that support to be able to be like, okay, yeah, this is me, here I am, woo. You know, I think that's one of the things, even with my dad passing, the questions I've been asking myself a lot is, oh man, I'm really noticing where I'm hiding that a little bit more, and how much more can I really, like, you know, flag in the sand, and here we are. Here we come, you know. So you're probably going to get more of that soon.
Excellent.
Yeah. Woo! We're getting more hearts and more flowers and more love, people.
More Georgie, more Georgie.
Yeah, exactly. So good. Any other questions or comments or thoughts, or yeah, businesses do stuff that you don't want to do. It makes us grow. It's so true. And that's what I mean about life is going to kick you out of the comfort zone. Like, honestly, you don't have to worry about it. It's happening. Like, if you sit in there too long, maybe that's where we get the bigger challenges, because it's like, yeah, nope. Big old little boot.
Absolutely.
So for all those that thought you had to work on that, don't worry about it. It'll take care of itself.
You could purposefully move out into the area of your discomfort zone, or you can wait for life to push you there.
To push you, exactly, because it's happening. It's happening one way or another. So yeah. What else we got? Your dad's story is a great example of what happens when a person focuses on those things you and Patty talk about for creating a U-shaped business. Very true. Very true. Thank us both for sharing in this way, meaningful and much needed in our world. Heart, kindness, love, caring.
What a terrific summary for where we're at now with 1 minute.
Perfect. That is perfect. Here I was afraid it was going to be too short.
I don't think that ever is a problem for us.
True.
So thank you for being here with us live. If you were here with us live, thank you for watching the video, or if you're watching us in the future. And we will be back again next week. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.